Okie dokie, teach me something, Michael.
Hey everyone, today we're going to be going through caring for mature succulents. But before we go any further, please make sure you like, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification button as well, and when we do future videos, we'll upload them, you'll be notified and you can watch them at your own leisure. So yeah, we're going to go through caring for our mature succulents. So it's very important to know the varieties that you have at home, when they're in their growing season and dormant season, because each, depending on what season they're going through, the care can be different. So at the moment, we're going through like a growing season. So I've picked Echevera Canty here, looking beautiful. We've got Echevera Red Sails, and I've also got Sedum Burrows Tail. So the Burrows Tail will still be growing through spring, but as it goes into more of the summer, it will go a little bit dormant. These guys will as well, but when it gets more to probably the middle to late summer, it'll just be too hot, so they'll just shut down and go into a bit of dormancy. But while they're going into growing season, we'll show you some tips. So yeah, it's very important to make sure that you remove any lower leaves that are dead, particularly the one, you know, as they've just come out of dormancy. So what we've got one here on this red sails there, so we'll just pull them off, discard them, and by doing that, we're allowing good ventilation, good airflow through the bottom of the base of the plant, which is really important. So that will prevent rot. Also, it's also important with your pot sizing. So it is, you know, a good time to pot them up. So you want to make sure that the pot size is a little bit bigger than the current pot. So your next pot that you're potting them up into is a little bit bigger than the one that they're currently growing in. Otherwise, if you go way too big, then you're putting a lot of stress on that root system later on, because that potting mix will be quite wet. Well, when you go to water it, or if it rains, that root system can't keep up with that, you know, with that massive pot with all that potting mix that's inside. So it's really important to just gradually increase the pot size so that root system can keep up.
What happens if it can't keep up?
Yeah, so if it can't keep up and it's just sitting in water for too much, it's going to rot as well. So very important to just gradually increase that pot size. So as it's, you know, bigger, you're obviously going to have a lot of more potting mix in that pot, as opposed to something a lot smaller. So like this Echevera Ghost. So you won't have to water this one as regularly. So it's good to, you know, you can scratch around in your potting mix or your garden soil at home. If it is completely bone dry, then it's a good time to water it. Another sign is if the leaves on your actual plant start to wilt, or they go really soft and a bit floppy, then it's a good time to water it as well. So when they're nice and firm and plump like that, you just leave it, and they'll be happy there. So good to also start to introduce fertilizer. So slow release is really good now that the temperatures are increasing, especially in the soil. So you can use like an Osmocote if you like. You can also use just an organic one, so like a Blood and Bone or Dynamic Lifter. But it's important to make sure you don't get that fertilizer sitting on the plants, because it can cause burn. Or you can use liquid fertilizer. So I think there's, you know, Thrive out there. I think there's Power Feed as well. There's a lot of different ones too. And it's also good to apply a seaweed solution as well. So that'll help that root system to really become nice and strong. You're right there.
Sorry, I like how you said seaweed solution instead of sea salt, because every time you say sea salt, there's someone in the comments saying, "What? You put sea salt on your plants? Really?"
Yeah.
No, not sea. I can't even say it now.
Not
sea salt. Sea sol, which is a seaweed solution.
Seaweed solution, just a brand of a type of seaweed solution. So yeah, so it's good to apply the seaweed solution, because that'll help really build up that root system, make it nice and healthy and strong. It'll also help to build immunity for the plant as well, in terms of pest and disease resistance as well, and also toughen them up for the seasons that they're going through. So it's really important to really apply that now while it's growing, because, you know, in a couple months time we're going to be in summer and it's going to be really hot, and they're going to go into protection mode. So it's really important to give them that solution there to really toughen them up and really help them to pull through summer, and then get into autumn, where they'll start to grow a little bit again before they're going to complete shutdown again in winter. For Echevera I'm talking about there. And yeah, Sedum will grow a little bit through the winter, but more of a spring and the autumn. So, and that's it really. So yeah, it's really important to, you know, to also monitor your plants regularly for pests. Disease, you won't really see too much this time of the year unless you're getting a lot of rainfall and you've got high humidity. Then you might notice like a bit of black spot, particularly for frillies. So large growing Echeveria like this one here, they're really susceptible to black spot, which is just like you'll notice a little bit of a yellowing and then black.
Have
like
you
a
got
black
any there?
spot.
Am I zooming in?
I don't have it.
Okay.
No, I don't have any on this at the moment. So it's looking really good. So that's one definitely to look out for here. You can also sometimes notice powdery mildew, but it's more of a one that you'll see through the winter, and that'll be like kind of like a milky color, white powdery sort of I don't know,
Grossness.
blotches or grossness on it, and yeah, so that's powdery mildew there. So yeah, for pests, you particularly when they're flowering, so a lot of your Echeveria will be flowering now or close to finishing their first flush of flowers. You'll notice aphids on them, or you might notice mealybug, and mealybug are really active as it's warmer. So really important to get on top of those guys. If you only got a small infestation, you can use just like an alcohol solution with a bit of water, so isopropyl alcohol. You can use a bit of soapy water, that works too. If it's a really bad infestation and it's the last resort, well then you may need to use like a systemic insecticide there. So, but if you can get away with just using the alcohol and a bit of soapy water, then that's better there. So
we've done a previous tip Tuesday.
We have done a previous tip
Tuesday
on that as well. So try to avoid using oils, so like white oil or horticulture oil. It just coats the leaves and causes them to burn, and it can really sometimes it can kill them too. So very important to avoid the oils. And I think that's about it. They are fertilizer, water, pest and disease.
What about too much sunshine in summer?
Yeah, too much sunshine, summer. Yeah, so very important to monitor that as well. If you got plants that have been in a little bit of shade through the spring, summer comes, you don't want to throw them straight into a full sun sort of spot, because they can easily get burnt there. So it's best to try and slowly acclimatize them to that environment that you want to move them to. You can use shade cloth as well through summer to protect them from the burn. So you can use like a 50% white. Some people will use more like a 70% green if they want. We just use a 30% green on our sides of our greenhouse, and that pretty much acts the same as a 50% white, but the little gaps are a lot bigger, so it allows better ventilation there. So if you've got if you're building a shade house and you want to know what sort of shade cloth to use, 30% green is really good there. Otherwise you'll get that really good natural ventilation there. So, and I think that's it. Yep. So hopefully you found those tips helpful. If you have any questions, please let us know. I'll get to replying to them as soon as I can. Have a great week, and we'll catch you the next Tuesday. Says.
All right, before we go, I just want to zoom in on these plants because they're so pretty. This one's looking a little bit crispy still, but growing out of that from its dormancy.
Yeah. And a lot of them you'll notice as well will lose their color as well when they're going through the growing season. So when they're dormant, they stress a bit better, and they'll show nicer colors as well. So yeah, don't stress if your plants are losing color. It's most likely they're just going through growing season. See yous.